So for those people who are still confused with the difference between a phaneritic and a porphyritic texture, I'm going to show it to you here in the video. Here you're seeing a granite that was taken in the Llano, Texas. So when we talk of phaneritic, these are coarse-grained plutonic rocks. And here you can actually see the major differences. You can literally see the individual if you can see right through here, the individual minerals, not of course, not all the minerals pretty much that comprises this granite are visible. Some are obviously larger than others, like this potassium feldspar in here. It's quite big, but you can see literally some of the crystals right there. There's a big, I don't know if you can see it, but that's a hornblende. You can see crystal hornblende. You can see the individual crystals of that's quartz right there. That's quartz. That is quartz right there. I don't know if I can see some of the biotite. You can see some over here, some biotite crystals there. They're big, You can as you can use, as I'm using my knife in here to show the minerals. You can see those are actually individual crystals. I think these are probably a mixture of hornblende. This is biotite right there. You can see right there. But because some of the minerals are just humongous in size. Give you some example. For example, here at the bottom of this, you can see this is a feldspar right there. This is for scale, and you can literally see zoning, even on this one. That's one mineral right there where we're looking at. Some are really huge, but it doesn't mean that because one is huge and the other one is slightly smaller in crystal size that it is a porphyritic. So that's a difference. Here, even the small minerals can be seen by naked eye. You can see right through there. Now, to compare and contrast this with porphyritic texture, so I'm going to show you a porphyritic texture. So this is a sample that came from Mount Pinatubo after. So we know it's volcanic because we literally picked these samples ourselves after the eruption of Mount Pinatubo. So you don't even have to think about whether this is volcanic because this was erupted in 1990, I think 1992, when Mount Pinatubo erupted. So here the big difference is you can see. I don't know if I can point out in here. So those crystals right there, you can see them. But they're floating in this very fine-grained matrix. That dark matrix in here is probably made up primarily of a mixture of hornblende and pyroxene. But unlike the granite in here, where you can, even the black minerals, you can literally see. I don't know if I have my finger right through there. So you can see the individual crystals, with your naked eye. Some grains are bigger, obviously, but they're just huge. Versus this one, these are really fine-grained matrix. You cannot see the only way to see them is to make a thin section and put them under the microscope. However, the large crystals, you can see them floating, of these large white crystals of plagioclase are floating in a dark fine-grained matrix. So there's a big difference. And here's probably similar to, in color, this is a dacite porphyry. Again, the matrix in here is you cannot see anything very much, right? But those crystals of most of those I think are a mixture of feldspar, probably a sodic feldspar, and a matrix that is made up actually of I don't know so maybe some potassium feldspar mixed in with some maybe even some sodic feldspar mixed in, but you can see it's sort of floating in a fine-grained matrix. Again, if you compare and contrast the two, side by side, see the difference. This one is you can see the individual crystal floating in a very fine-grained matrix. You can hardly make up anything on the matrix, but on this one you have coarse-grained materials. This is humongous, just because this is bigger than the other. But even if you remove that, you can still see the individual black minerals in there. They're pretty big, right? There's mostly hornblende and mixed in with some biotite. Here is a good example. If I just focus on that one, you can see. So here is what we call phaneritic texture versus that of an aphaneritic texture. Okay? I hope this doesn't confuse you so much. You can see where the confusion is coming from. Both of these are porphyritic. So the way porphyritic happens is inside the magma chamber, these large crystals are already starting to precipitate, is still inside the magma chamber. And all of a sudden, this entire thing got erupted out of the volcano. Well, the matrix never had a chance to crystallize properly, and so they get really fine grain. Whereas this one that already crystallized in the magma chamber. Well, it's a big difference on this one. This one had, you see how big that thing is, and even the crystals in here. If you look at the crystals of some of this mineral in here, they're about the same size as some of the black minerals in there, right? You can see right there. So this entire is a pluton that probably took time for them to crystallize. So they were crystallizing at depth. That's allowing many of the crystals to grow bigger. See the difference? This is porphyritic, and so this is porphyritic texture with phenocryst. This is a phaneritic texture. This is of course granite.